Good Monday morning. It's the 23rd, I believe. We'll check it. I think it is, of March. And we're glad you're with us here on the Weather Desk, where we cover today's top weather headlines. I'm meteorologist Craig Muller. It's a pleasure to be with you. And we are going to take a look at the topics that we're covering today. And we're going to start off with one that has been an ongoing issue. They have had flooding rains in Hawaii. So that's been a big concern, and there's more flooding going on. We'll show you some of the images from over the weekend. Flooding rains streaming into the Cascades as well. Believe it or not, what's happening in Hawaii is somewhat related to some of the heavier rains that they've seen coming into the Pacific Northwest and into the Cascades specifically. We'll talk about how the rain there is creating some flooding issues. Now, we also have an update on the cherry blossoms, and traditionally here, especially in the mid-Atlantic, when we talk about cherry blossoms, we key in on the National Cherry Blossom Festival in D.C. That's going to peak next weekend. Right now, we're at a level 4, headed towards level 6 with the peak bloom. We'll explain what all that means coming up. But there are other parts of the country where they're also getting some blooms, the cherry blossoms coming in unusually early, and it's tied to some warm temperatures. So we'll talk more about that. We also have some areas that aren't ready to say so long to winter yet. Specifically, Vermont, we're going to take you up there and show you some of the snow that fell over the weekend. They had a pretty good shot of snow that came in off the Great Lakes and rolling into from Canada into northern portions of Vermont and Burlington. So we'll show you some of that. We had another fireball, this one over Texas, and it actually hit a house. A piece of it hit a house. So we'll talk more about that. We also will break down the difference between meteors, meteorites, even meteoroids. So what's the diff? We'll explain. That's coming up. That, and we're going to focus on our weather, more ups and downs with our temperatures. You may have noticed if you went out early this morning, it was actually warmer than it is right now. Our temperatures are trending down here in Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. So a lot to go over, a lot to break down, and we're going to start off by taking a look at what's happening in Hawaii. Right now, Hawaii is underwater after days of torrential rain. Let's take a look at the damage from above. Parts of the island received up to 3 months of rain in just 24 hours, marking the second significant storm to hit the island in a week. Evacuation orders were even issued for thousands of people on the north shore of Oahu over fears that a dam could fail. Now, those residents were told to leave immediately as officials warn the Wahiawa Dam might collapse at any time. That dam is 120 years old, and if it does fail, the surge of water could wipe out nearby communities. The governor says the Hawaii National Guard has been activated to help with flood response. As of this morning, no one has been killed, but the floodwaters have damaged buildings, homes, and even airports.
This is the largest flood that we've had in Hawaii in 20 years, the largest flood since the flood in Manoa. 196 people have been rescued through the heroic efforts of Seating County leadership, the firefighters, our team with General Logan. Haima has been extraordinary. Everyone's worked together. I have to proudly report that there have, to our knowledge, been no fatalities and no unaccounted for individuals so far. I am happy to report that my chief of staff spoke to the White House today, and they are offering their assurance that we're going to have support. The same can be said of FEMA. They've been with us from the beginning, as they were with us in the fire and before. We have support, and we will come through this together.
Now, the governor says this storm could cause more than $1 billion in damages. And I want to take a look at the satellite images here. Again, it looks like Oahu's starting to get a break there. And you can see, again, areas out to the west in better shape. For Maui and back over Hawaii, still some clouds and obviously still some moisture here. But kind of the bigger picture as we take a look is this trough here that then becomes kind of a ridge. There's very warm. We've been talking about the record warmth here underneath this thermal ridge. And this same system that has been producing all of this rain across Hawaii has been streaming up across the Pacific and feeding in to the northwest. There's a look at a very active storm track there. So again, rainy and unsettled here around Hawaii. A lot of that moisture streaming up, and I would say some more moisture set to come in to the Pacific Northwest, while the Southwest is seeing some warm weather. And we've been plenty warm here. We'll break down our temperatures and get into all of that, but you'll notice there is a little dip here, a sign of things to come. We're actually bracing here locally for some cooler weather. So it all ties in, but I just wanted to show you this kind of long pattern here and what's been going on. So as I mentioned, more moisture is coming into Washington state, and we're going to talk about that right now. The state of Washington's getting a little break from the rain, but that hasn't been the case. They've been dealing with a lot of rain. In fact, flood warnings are also in effect for parts of Washington state. Forecasters say heavy rain in the Cascade Mountains. They've been causing rivers in 3 different counties to rapidly rise. Bridget Chavez reports.
In the Snoqualmie River Valley. So we have a little water over the road. Floodwaters don't always stop you.
Compared to 3 months ago, December 11th and 12th, this is nothing.
Sometimes you drive right through it.
Some of us might have a little PTSD, but we're doing fine.
For Country Roni, this is just a part of living here.
I'm 4th generation, 4th flood in my lifetime. This is nothing. So I didn't have to do really anything.
But not every road can be driven through.
And that's the joke of the town.
She's talking about Northeast 124th Street.
You will go on Duval discussion board and someone will ask, hey, is 124th closed?
A closure that is expected, but still disrupts daily life.
I mean, we're backed up. Basically, you need to factor in at least an hour, maybe more, to get in or out when 124th closes. It sucks.
Till 9 o'clock tonight, I will see a line of cars, of lights. There's at least 12 commuter hours of lights when 124th is closed.
For local businesses, fewer cars means fewer customers.
The foot traffic slows down, so it slows down our shop as well.
After what people here went through in December, the words atmospheric river still sets off alarm bells.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
All right, well, we're going to turn our attention from the Northwest, where they have been dealing with all that rain, over to the East Coast and specifically the Mid-Atlantic. A few showers working across D.C., and you know what's going on up in D.C. We mentioned it at the start of the show. We have the National Cherry Blossom Festival, which kicked off over the weekend. Check this out. Hundreds of cherry blossom trees that line the tidal basin are getting ready to hit peak bloom. The National Park Service says the trees hit stage 4 of stage 6 over the weekend. So a couple more to go. They are almost there. They're getting so close, and the trees are expected to hit that peak bloom, stage 6, between March 29th and April 1st. Now, peak bloom is when 70% of the blossoms are open, and it can last for several days. So that's what's happening in D.C. Beautiful. Meanwhile, out west, the trees are blooming earlier than usual, and that's thanks to a stretch of warmer than normal temperatures. This is a look at the trees at Utah State Capitol building. You can see more than 400 Yoshino cherry trees that circle the complex are now in full bloom, which a state capitol official says is at least a week ahead of schedule. All right, you take a look here, and again, they have been warm. Salt Lake City now down to 67 degrees, so not as warm as it has been, but they've had record heat over portions of the Southwest. We've seen recently, yesterday, a surge of warm weather. Norfolk up to 84. So we've certainly had our heat here. That's changing today. It's already started as a cold front slipped through our area, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that coming down. But I wanted to show you up in the Northeast U.S., it may officially be spring, but you can see this part of the country still looking at some wintry weather. And you can see right here's a look at Burlington, Vermont. You can see this area as we loop this over the weekend, the snow that overtook the region. They're dealing with the wintry weather. This is a look at the conditions in Vermont over the weekend. Heavy snow slowed down traffic in Burlington. Vermont State Police say that they were urging drivers to use extra caution on the roads, and after they had to respond to dozens of crashes, you understand why. Pretty crazy up there again. Winter's still going on up in the Northeast. But for our area, just a few light showers, and things are improving across Hampton roads. We're going to see these showers kind of fizzling out. This front comes through. It turns colder, but then we're going to see some more warm weather later in the week. And I'm really going to break all of that down coming up in just a bit. Right now, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, you remember that fireball over Ohio and parts of Pennsylvania last week? Well, there's another fireball, this time over Texas. In just 2 minutes, we'll explain what's going on down there where they believe that came down. It actually hit a house. And we're going to explain the difference between a meteor, a meteorite, and a meteoroid. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So last week we talked about the meteor that came across that bright fireball that blew up into a bunch of little fragments and burned up as it fell over portions of Ohio and, it was streaking across the Pennsylvania sky. Well, this time we just had another one, and this one was over Texas and the Houston area. Take a look. A woman says she heard a big boom, then found a hole in her ceiling and a big rock on her floor. NASA estimates the asteroid was about 3 feet in diameter and weighed about a ton before entering the atmosphere. The homeowner says she wants NASA to authenticate the rock, and then she's going to buy a lottery ticket. This sighting comes just days after a meteor flew over northeast Ohio, and the boom could be heard in a number of states from Pennsylvania to New York. Now, we showed you this video near Pittsburgh, which shows a bright streak in the sky. Now you may be wondering, what's the difference between a meteor, a meteorite, or even a meteoroid? Hunter Forst explains.
Have you ever wondered what the difference is between a meteor, meteorite, and meteoroid? Well, they're actually the same object, just at different stages of the journey. Out in space, it's called a meteoroid. These are small chunks of rock, metal, or both, often broken off from asteroids or even comets. Most are tiny, some as small as dust, but they could be also much larger. When one of these meteoroids enters Earth's atmosphere at incredibly high speeds, sometimes over 40,000 miles per hour, it heats up quickly due to friction with the air. That glowing streak of light you see, well, that's a meteor, or what sometimes we like to say, a shooting star. For example, the meteor that flew through the sky in Ohio in March of 2026 weighed about 7 tons and was 6 feet in diameter and was moving at around 45,000 miles per hour. Most meteors burn up completely before reaching the ground, but if a piece does survive the fiery trip and makes its way to Earth's surface, it becomes a meteorite. So remember, meteoroid in space, meteor in the sky, and meteorite on the ground. Same object, just different names depending on where you find it. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forrest.
Great information, Hunter, and it's very easy to understand that, right? When we talk about meteor showers, that's those bright flashes across the sky. You see them. So in the sky, meteor, meteorite on the ground, meteoroid in space. All right, now you know. All right, we're going to take a look right now at what's been happening in Hampton Roads over the last month. And you know what? It was so chilly. The end of summer, we started trending back below normal, and then we had like a really cold winter at times, at least the early part and middle part of winter, really chilly. As we finished up, we got into February, we started to have a few warm days, and then March, it's like a switch flipped, and we've really been pretty warm so far in March. We've had several days up into the 80s. It started Thursday the 5th when we hit a high of 82. We were up at 79 on the 7th and 8th. We stayed in the upper 70s on the 9th. Record heat on the 10th and the 11th. So we had that really warm weather for a while. Then we had a few cool days last week, especially Wednesday. I remember going out Wednesday afternoon, and I think we were forecasting a high of about 42, 43. And I was like, man, it still feels like it's in the upper 30s. And essentially it was. We topped out at 40. So that was a really chilly day last Wednesday, the 18th. As we went over the weekend, though, spring began officially with the vernal equinox. That was at 10:46 Friday morning, and it's been feeling spring-like for the past few days. Now, today is technically going to be an above-average day. Temperatures have already been in the upper 60s to near 70. So when we get the almanac information tomorrow, and I'm sharing it with you, it's going to look like today was a pretty warm day. But we had a cold front pass through this morning. It's settled down to the south now, and the temperatures are already falling. They will continue to fall, especially near the coast. And that's because the water temperatures along the bay and the ocean are still in the 40s. Temperatures there, heavily influenced right there at the beaches by our water temperatures. So with the wind coming in off the water, much cooler through the afternoon. Tomorrow's going to be a chilly day. Upper 40s, near 50, and that is below the normal, is now 62. I think we get back to average on Wednesday, and then we warm it up again as we get into Thursday and Friday. There'll be another push of cool air for this upcoming weekend. Let's talk precip, because we just had a little bit of rain, just a 1/100th of an inch officially Friday. Had a few sprinkles come through Friday night, but you can see Saturday, Sunday turned out to be beautiful, and while we do have a few showers on the radar, any precip we get today, very isolated and very light. So not looking for much here. Next few days looking pretty good. Friday is going to be our next good chances for rain upcoming. Now, as we look at yesterday's number, you can see we were 4 degrees off the record high 88, which goes all the way back to 1894. For the year, we're about 1.6 inches below average for rainfall. We could use a little bit. Now, it is a bit breezy out there. We've seen a few gusts, and one recently in a husky to about 20 miles per hour. A few other areas up around 20 to 25. At times this morning, we've seen some gusts closer to 30, even 35 miles per hour earlier, but the winds not too bad right now. A little bit of a lull through midday. Later this afternoon and into the evening, we could see a few more gusts up around 25 to maybe 30 miles per hour. Those areas right along the beaches where the winds are coming in off the water that's where you have the better chances to see some of those higher gusts. I think inland areas, the winds are not going to be any kind of an issue at all. And even that's not that bad, just a little breezy. All right, so earlier this morning, we were up in the low 70s. Now Norfolk's sitting 60 degrees, 60 in Virginia Beach. With that cooler push of air coming in and the winds shifting around a bit, we do have the chillier conditions along the beaches. Inland areas continue to be warmer. They're not influenced the way we are right along the water's edge. I'm thinking about places like Ocean View, back over to Shore Drive, Fort Story, back down along the Virginia Beach oceanfront, even around Buckrow Beach and back over to the eastern shore. It's going to be more influenced by those cool coastal waters. Down along the Outer Banks, also a little bit cooler than some of the other areas. Now, compared to 24 hours ago, temperatures inland are warmer this morning. You'll notice temperatures a little bit cooler right now, Norfolk and Virginia Beach, because we're now getting that northeast wind coming in, or the northeast wind. This is a little deceiving when you look out here and you see the temperatures up. Yes, it's up from where it was, but when you look at the 24-hour temperature change across the country, you will notice much colder air set to push in as we go over the next 24 hours. That's what's happening already out to the west. St. Louis down 33 degrees from this time yesterday. Louisville and Cleveland 20 to 25 degrees cooler, while we're experiencing this little cool down right along the beach as this colder air comes in. Tomorrow will be colder all across the region. So you'll notice that. That's when we're going to see the big drop in temps for our inland areas. This morning we were close to 70. Now we're getting down into the low 60s. We're going to see temperatures falling off late. And I think there'll be some clearing later this afternoon before sunset as well. There is a very low risk of a shower, maybe a stray sprinkle here or there. Again, we could use a little bit of rain. That's not a bad thing. For tomorrow, temperatures upper 40s to near 50. So it's going to be much cooler as we look ahead to Wednesday, back up to 61, maybe 62. Then we get up into the 70s Thursday and Friday. There's another front that is set to come through. Behind that front, another drop in the temps into the weekend, a chillier weekend in store. Temperatures then recover the following week. As we take a look at the 8 to 14-day precip outlook, you'll notice much of the country expecting near normal or slightly wetter than normal conditions. This is from the end of March, the 31st, through the 6th of April. You'll notice along the East Coast, near normal precip, not really a big swing, high or low, from North Florida through Georgia, South and North Carolina, most of Virginia and areas off to the north. But if you look really closely, right here, Hampton Roads through eastern North Carolina, our 13 News Now broadcast area serving this part of the Mid-Atlantic, we are expected to be drier than normal. And really, that's the only part of the country expected to be a little bit drier. So that's the end of March into that first week of April. We'll certainly keep you updated. Oh, let's take a look at the temperatures real quick before I jump over to that. Let's get back into the temperatures. That outlook, the 31st through the 6th, I mentioned temperatures. They're going to continue to be warm. We are looking at, again, a thermal ridge above normal temperatures expected right on through the Mid-Atlantic, really most of the country expecting above normal temps. So this is what we're looking at as we finish up March and get into early April. Now we'll look at the conditions out on the water, and we do have small craft advisories going up for the bay and the ocean. The sea's running 3 to 4 feet. Occasionally, there might be a 5 or 6 footer that pops up. Waves on the bay more like 2 to 3 feet. So the wind's a little breezy. Those gusts to 25 knots. That's about it. But with the seas building, and again, just breezy enough that small craft could have some issues, we're urging small craft to stay in port. High tide comes at 12:10 this afternoon. Okay, let's get more into the forecast and talk allergies, because that tree pollen is extreme today. And I noticed it myself when I came in, before moving to Virginia back in the late 90s. That's when I first brought my family here, and we've just absolutely loved Hampton Roads. The trees are so lush. It's absolutely beautiful. I had no allergies. But since moving to Hampton Roads, I've developed them, and you may be suffering a little bit as well. Cedar, juniper, birch, and sycamore all producing tremendous amounts of pollen right now. It is extreme, and you're starting to see more and more of that green pollen kind of coating the cars, and a lot of the windshields on the cars everywhere, it seems to be. So just know if you're suffering pollen, you're going to be in it today. It is extreme, that level. All right, as we take a look at the eastern part of the country here, you notice a little unsettled weather, some snow up around the Great Lakes. We've got some wet weather here around. You can see Cape Cod and Boston, back over to Rhode Island, the extreme eastern part of Connecticut, Long Island, seeing it. A few light sprinkles here, but they have been fizzling. And a little closer look, you can see just a few showers there, still to the northwest of Williamsburg, reaching up to the northern neck, back out through Petersburg. And this was literally the reason why I've included a 20 to 25% chance. There's just this slight chance of a few sprinkles. That stuff's pretty much fizzling out. In fact, our futurecast, which is based on the graph model, hardly even picks it up or presents it. So there are going to be maybe a little sprinkle here or there, but really not much else going on. Temperatures at the coast tumbling as we go into the afternoon. We'll drop down to the upper 50s, maybe low 60s for a little bit, but those winds coming in off our waters, which are still in the 40s, keeping those coastal areas down. Areas farther inland and south, not under the influence as much of the coastal water temperatures. You can see low to mid 70s around Ahoskie, maybe even mid to upper 70s for Edenton. As our overnight continues, that's when the colder air sweeps into the west. And instead of being that warm tomorrow, we start off 30s, upper 30s inland, low 40s near the coast. As we go through the afternoon, look at this. Temperatures so much chillier, upper 40s to low 50s. So as I mentioned, tomorrow it's going to be much cooler for the inland areas. We're starting to see those temperatures coming down at the coast a little bit later today. As we get into Wednesday, though, hang in there. We're going to recover. Winds are going to shift. We'll be back up upper 50s to low 60s, and it does get warmer after that. Let's get into the forecast. Across the south side, temperatures later this afternoon falling. We've already been in the upper 60s to near 70, so we're past that now. Cooler temps coming, slight chance of a sprinkle for a couple of those inland areas. That line is falling apart off to the north as well, so don't be overly concerned with this. There just might be a stray shower passing by. Temperatures turning cooler as we go through the late afternoon, especially right at the coast. And it's going to take a little bit longer for those temperatures to tumble out at the Outer Banks, but they should fall there as well. So we do have the cooler weather upcoming. Now, tonight's low down around 40. But that's near the coast. For our inland areas, it will be chillier. We're going to find many areas in the 30s out away from the water tonight. And then tomorrow's temperatures notably cooler, near 49, our normal high 62, so a good 13 degrees or so below average. Should see a lot of sunshine, mostly sunny and breezy. Those winds gusting up around 20 miles per hour. Not too bad, but certainly breezy out there, especially near the water. All right, let's take a look at the full 7-day forecast. Now, after the cool down tomorrow, temperatures back up to near 62 on Wednesday. Again, chilly Wednesday morning down into the 30s. After that, we start to warm up again. Temperatures pressing back up. Low 70s on Thursday, morning lows near 50. 73 on Friday. Scattered showers with the front coming through. It then cools down into the following weekend. Want to remind you, you can always stay connected with our forecast when you download the 13 News Now mobile app. We've got a QR code. It's easy to find. You can also find it free on the App Store and Google Play. There you will have access to our radars, to our full forecast, and of course you'll get updates if there's any breaking news, traffic, or weather. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. We'll see you next time.